Hi, everyone. Welcome to Hope Talks. Thank you for joining us today. If this is your first time, or if you've joined us before, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for staying connected with us. I'm just going to take a few minutes to let people kind of slowly come in and join. While you're here, while we're waiting, please leave a comment and let us know you're here, where you're tuning in from, maybe, how you're associated with Southside Center of Hope, all that good stuff. Feel free to let us know in the comments. If you've joined us in the past, you know that our intern, Alice, has been such a great help with monitoring the comments, but she actually is done for the semester, so she's not going to be with us today, so bear with me. I will try and look at the comments as I can. If I don't get to your comment during the live stream, I will right away go and start responding to those as soon as it's over. So hopefully we can get all your questions answered. My name is Catherine Newman. I'm the Development and Communications Coordinator for Southside Center of Hope. Southside Center of Hope is a nonprofit recovery home for women in Chicago. We provide housing and supportive services for single women and women with children who are experiencing homelessness and in recovery from addiction. So that's a little bit about me and about our agency. What you are tuned into today is Hope Talks. This is our monthly live stream. We do it every month on the third Monday of the month at 1 p.m. Central Time. And the purpose of Hope Talks is for us to have an opportunity to share community resources with our network, connect our partners, and just kind of, highlight our work and the work of others who are in the neighborhood, in the city. We also, created Hope Talks so we could be able to have conversations around topics that impact our community, and not only, just to have us speaking on topics that impact our community, but to, again, bring in our partners to be able to share their input and their perspective, so we can really look at the community, our neighborhood, our world through a much broader lens. So while we're taking time to allow people to get settled and tuned in, I do want to remind you to please help us by sharing this live stream. There should be a button down in the bottom right-hand corner that just says share with like a little arrow. If you click that, you can share this stream with all of your friends, well, really just onto your timeline, so it would be viewable by any of your friends or family members that happen to be online right now. So if you could do that, we would very much appreciate it and be very, very thankful. The more people that we can connect with, the greater impact we're able to have. So your help would be, like I said, very appreciated in that field. So I'll share with you all a little bit about our guest that will be joining us today. His name is Christopher Watts. He's the executive director of the Kindness Campaign, and he is here to discuss with us community resources, kind of, how community needs have changed throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, a little bit about, his background and his passion, the resources that he helps to connect people with, and just kind of broadly, why it is important for us to come together as a community to help others. So, to tell you a little bit about Mr. Watts, doing my own research, I found a quote from him that he says is his life creed. And that quote is, "When you can help, You have a moral obligation to help without consideration of consequences or reward. You must help. And, he said that that is something that he lives by, that is his motto, his life motto. And following that thought has led him to spearhead several community initiatives. He has a large focus on workforce development and career training. He also has recently been doing a lot of providing a lot of supportive services to offset the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic in vulnerable communities. So I'll allow him to tell you all about that. But before I bring him in one more time, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. If you have not already, please share this, help us connect with more people, and leave us a comment. Let us know where you are, if you have any questions, and if you have any comments. So without further ado, I'm going to see if I can get Christopher here.
Hello?
Hi, Christopher. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
How are you today? Thank you for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So I just, very briefly gave you an introduction with some information that I had gathered through my own personal research. But, the first thing that I wanted to ask you about was just if you could tell us a little about yourself and also about the kindness campaign.
I could talk about the kindness campaign for days. It's something that just started. Nothing I ever strove to do. Nothing I've never said I had a goal to do anything. It just kind of happened. In 2013, I was a parent leader in a program called the Community Violence Prevention Program. In 2014, the funding got cut. The program ended. And a couple of the ladies we were talking, they were saying how they hate that it was ending. We was doing such great work, and I responded, "Well, we don't need them; they need us. Programs need people. We don't need them." So it started with us just going out of pocket, buying things, going on corners, giving away hugs, high fives, handshakes, smiles, water, fruit, kindness cards, doing community cleanups, doing gift giveaways. And then other people just noticed and started giving beyond belief. People always ask, how did I get so much stuff? Who did I reach out to? And I always say, they never reached out to me. I think a wise person once told me when I stood on the road and asked for help because my car was broken down, no one helped me. When I started pushing it myself, people got out to help me. So when you do for self and you're doing good, people will always take notice and support.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's I think a really moving analogy, with, because I've definitely experienced that when my car has broken down. Sitting in the car, no one stops, but as soon as you get out, somebody always does pull over. So I'm really glad you shared that because I think that's something a lot of people can relate to and just kind of shows the importance of not expecting anyone to do anything that you're not willing to do yourself.
I always say you lead by example by doing it first.
Mm-hmm. So, to get into the kindness campaign just a little bit more, I'm curious if you could share with us, um, just kind of, I guess, what you do as far as like resources that you're able to provide. Is that something, are there, I guess my question is, are there, kind of core pillars and programs there, or are you kind of just looking for needs and filling in gaps as you can?
So there was core pillars around education. We had programming in a elementary school, integrated Grand Crossing community, neighborhood improvement. That's where our initiative called Community Empowerment and Opportunity, Neighborhood Beautification and Events. COVID-19 has altered a lot of plans as it's done for many people. So what became pillars got extended. So primarily what we've done most recently, which has been a lot of projects to keep the community safe and health. A big part of what we've been doing mostly that we didn't necessarily do before is providing free healthy groceries to the community, which happens weekly. Since COVID-19 has started, over 250,000 pounds of fresh groceries have been provided to the community. We try to get out there weekly or bi-weekly. I like to do it more often because I know that people don't have a lot of space in their refrigerator just to put food in there for a month. And we kind of focus on the things that are more costly in the store are hard to get. So, when we
Mhm.
were doing a grocery grab and we was by 71st and Ashland, I asked someone to look around in MapQuest, where can you go to get fresh groceries and produce from right here and how far would you have to go? You got the Whole Foods on 63rd and Halsted, which can be pricey sometimes.
Mhm.
When you think about the smaller local markets, it's just not there. So I always tell people that I've never encountered a starving person, hungry, and malnutrition when I think about the communities we work in, primarily African American and Hispanic. I'll just prioritize the African American community. Maybe 20 to 25% of the population in Cook County, 60% of the COVID-19 deaths. A virus cannot be racist. That comes from unhealthy eating. Our immune systems just aren't strong enough to fight off the deadly disease. So we're out here, we're giving away avocado, we're giving away spinach, we're giving away broccoli, we're giving away the fruits to be the natural sources of those vitamins, minerals, help with our blood, our cell count, just our overall immune system. We've also delivered over 35,000 gourmet meals to residents in 10 cities throughout the city. So we're talking about Roosevelt and displays 18th under the highways inside the police stations. We visit shelters. We take them gourmet meals from a number of restaurants. We've partnered with organizations like Fight to Feed. So when I think in a sense of the homeless, like I said, they can get meals, getting hot, healthy gourmet meals brought directly to them. It's not practical to try to take a homeless person 3, 4, 5 days of food at one time. Where are they going to put it at?
Right.
So it's important to take it to them daily, especially hot meals. Taking it to them hot. They don't necessarily have a microwave, a stove, or a hot plate out there. Even though I've seen some tent cities with grills. We've also been doing events, which we're doing more so throughout the summer, outdoor events inside of the park throughout Inglewood and Grand Crossing, outdoor live music and art just to entertain people that they could watch from their cars and or from their porches as well as giving away food. So our programming and the resources that we offer has changed. Just this past weekend, we went from just giving about 50 kids 300 gifts in previous years to giving over 150 kids 1,000 gifts
Wow.
plus coats. So people have been very generous to the kindness campaign. It's
Mhm.
definitely um, expanded our capacity and the impact that we've been able to do. So since March, we've kind of been going with what's necessary right at this moment. And when I think about what we're probably going to be doing going into winter, less people come out when it's cold. It's getting darker earlier. So we
Mhm.
probably will have to do more grocery grabs. I'd like to use the word grab instead of giveaway because giveaway just don't have any good connotation that comes along with that. We might have to go back to the delivery. So in March and April and May, when the pandemic first started, we was delivering to senior citizens so they wouldn't have to come out the house. I don't necessarily know exactly. I got some ideas out there, but we're ready to mobilize.
Mhm. Yeah, I saw that you had just done the um the holiday event over the weekend, and that's
Mhm.
really amazing that you were able to reach so many families.
Yeah, I gotta thank DTLR, Project Swish, and a young lady named Nicole J. Wheatley. They definitely expanded our capacity a lot, especially DTLR. On Thursday, I got a call from Toys from Tots out in Bridgeview saying I could come pick up 250 toys.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't even know I was gonna have 1,000 gifts for that
Yeah.
Saturday until that Thursday. Then on that Thursday, I started adding people on, and we did take quite a few people walked up and showed up. We tried to get people to register because two things I don't like to do. I don't like to have 500 people and I only have enough people for 100, enough for 100.
Mhm.
And I don't want people waiting in a line, like standing outside for hours. We try to
Yeah.
serve people with dignity. I don't want to cost them their time. Um, so it was just a great event. I didn't even know it was going to be like that before that Thursday and Friday
Yeah.
myself, finally. So some things just come up, just from being out there. I literally get a call and say, hey, we heard what you were doing. We want to help. And it just goes like that.
Yeah. It just shows the power of, partnership and
Hmm.
really sharing resources within the community, which is, really why we created this whole live stream in the first place, was to be able to kind of connect community resources. So that's a perfect example of that.
Right.
Um, so I'm curious, just after reading a little bit about your background, it seems like you have had kind of, well, you have an MBA, um,
Yes.
and some of your previous titles lead me to believe you might have been on a little bit of a corporate path at one point in your life.
So I
Um,
was.
so I'm curious kind of what inspired you to become a community activists and to develop these initiatives to create social change in the way that you are, kind of just to shift your trajectory.
Okay, so I don't consider myself an activist, and that's just because I'm so specific with wording. I think that we all have a role, and what the activists do is very different from what I do, and I love what they do. I was, and I still am on that trajectory of more business. So not too many people know, like the stuff that I do in service. It's more like a hobby. So I'm actually an insurance and tax broker. That's what I really do. But most
Oh,
people don't know that unless you're
yeah.
one of my clients. And I use the money I earn to fund those things. And that's how it started. And I actually just started taking a salary this year from the nonprofit entity, more so that I literally donate the money from my financial services firm to the kindness campaign to pay me. And I did that so that we could be eligible for certain grants. So we actually got our first two grants this year. Most places won't give you a grant unless you have a full-time employee on staff who's gonna get it. So I just donated the money that I was gonna pay myself to the kindness campaign. Then I pay myself that way. So my undergrad is in management, my grad degree is in HR, my internships was at a real estate and financial services firm when I was in college. But I finished college in 2008. That was during the Obama wave. I got a job at Loyola University right when I was finishing up grad school in the HR department. But I said, with the Obama wave, I read his books. So I end up uh, enrolling in AmeriCorps as a community organizer for a faith-based organization in the Greater Grand Crossing community, which is where
Mhm.
I also end up buying a house, where I also was a parent educator, and where I also just bought a building to for the kindness campaign. And I was out there and I was just doing work. And, I was working with women right out of prison who had other issues related to substance abuse and um, bad relationships, just a lot of things going on. But what I
Mhm.
noticed when I was trying to get people together around certain things, we kind of identify with our job. We kind of, if we're not working, we don't seem valuable or like we bring anything. So to get people to listen to me about reducing violence, about beautifying the community, about healthier eating, about having grocery stores and quality schools, I started doing employment. So I literally only did it so people would listen to me about everything else. And I just happened to have great success with employment, which is how I got the Put in Chicago to Work page. Um, I had success with individuals who had a criminal record, who was right out of prison, usually not have no real experience, and who they kept saying was hard to deal with. Not they find it hard to deal with them. I always tell people, man, I
Yeah.
could deal with anyone. So with that, my name started traveling for employment, and everybody was trying to like email me and send me a Facebook friend request. Well, I didn't know, so I made the public page in the newsletter, and I did that so people would stop personally contacting me. And I also started doing workshops out in community. And over the years, that more so transitioned to what I am more passionate about, which is the community service oriented items. That includes the
Mhm.
employment. So outside of what I call the Impact Center, which I purchased last month in November, there is an employment and training aspect to it. When I think about the whole design, we got electrical sockets in the floor so that if we have furniture, we could do commuter classes or work readiness classes as well
Mhm.
as sockets in the ceiling so we can have a projector. Um, so I just kind of trickled into employment to get people to listen to me with the other things. And employment gave me a platform where other people start listening. So the employment aspect is what led to what I call the kindness campaign now. It gave me the platform and a voice where people would listen to me.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I'm glad that you brought up the putting people to work page, because that was something that I wanted to ask you about. That was actually how I first became familiar with you. I had came across that page and kind of kept a tab on it because a lot of the information that you were sharing was information that was going to be really helpful
Mhm,
for the women that we serve here at our recovery shelter, our residents here.
mhm,
They're often looking for employment opportunities, and depending on their background, some of them do have some really significant barriers to employment. So
mhm.
um, like I said, that's how I became familiar with you. And I've always been curious to know, how do you find all of that information and um, that you share with people for those job opportunities? Is it like kind of just coming into you easy at this point, or is there somewhere kind of special that you're looking to find that?
So early on, it came from network partners, HR background, heavily was on LinkedIn, going out networking events in my early career. As to now, people just email it to me. I get emails from companies, I get emails from organizations, I get emails from people just asking me to share. Over the years, I've probably directly served over 2,500 people. And when you help someone get a job, especially someone who thought that something wasn't achievable for them, like I said, we've told a lot of people, if you got a criminal record, it's gonna be hard for you to get a job, or you should only get a job in manufacturing or maintenance. And I got a guy who works at a bank that got a background, right? I've encountered people who said, hey, I'm looking to make at least 12, $13 an hour, and now they're making 20, $25 an hour. So,
Mhm.
people appreciate that. I think for the most part, a lot of people was misguided in their career search and they go about it the wrong way. I've never encountered someone who can't find a job. What I typically find, they're just misguided. It's typically their tools or how they go about looking for work.
Yeah.
And it just comes down to just tweaking a lot of things for me. Even with that, people are great to me. Like people who are placed in jobs have come back to share information for me and or share referrals with me about job opportunities.
Mhm.
So it kind of just built to the point where most 75% of it now people send to me. So the hardest part for me, like on the Facebook side, is that I don't want to just keep making something too long or like just directly from the company website, put
Mhm.
the most 2 or 3 sentences about the job, the mandatory requirements, and then how you apply and let someone take it from there. On the newsletter side, I try to do that where people can easily get the information and send. I like to send it to different organizations. So the social media is primarily for career seekers, and I kind of targeted the newsletter for direct professionals because the whole newsletter never applied to one person. I didn't want people trying to print and wasting a lot of paper. So with that, I'll be hoping that community professionals will copy and paste certain jobs that's specifically appropriate for people, which you can also find on the social media sites.
Mm-hmm. And how do you sign up for the newsletter if somebody would want that emailed to them?
Uh, so they could go to the cwinitiative.com, but I post more information and more frequently on the social media page. So if they're a career seeker, I would recommend they go to Facebook. If they're working in an organization and work with people and need it readily available, and I know some organizations still have strict social media policies, they should go to the website, the cwinitiative.com, and just hit the contact form.
Okay. And so I'm curious for your perspective on how the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted job opportunities in Chicago. Have you seen anything change, or can you just kind of talk to us about, what differences that you do see in what jobs are becoming available and what it's kind of like for people to try and apply and get hired during this time?
Great question. And I think about that in a lot of ways. I had to have a conversation with someone this morning. Two things. It's changed it forever, and it's more changed than what the housing market crash did to the workforce and how we service people back in 2008, 2009, 2010. I remember when I first was putting things on social media back in 2009, and a lot of companies had banned and blocked social medias inside their offices.
Mm-hmm.
And my thinking was is that people's phones always get cut off. They don't answer the phone. But if it's one thing I know, and sometimes and many times people just don't check emails, right? But I guarantee you this, they look at social media every day and that never changes. So my reason for using social media was because I knew that I'd always be able to get in contact with the clients and always be able to get the information out there. When I look at what COVID-19 has done, let's just say since March to this year, it's just a lot of opportunities that's just not there. And I'm not even adding like, but then when you add in COVID-19 plus the civil unrest and the that came with that, plus a lot of the business closures, what used to be there just ain't there.
Mm-hmm.
And employers are less likely to commit to people who don't have specific experience in something. So I was talking to a college graduate who works with me, and and of course I understand. I tell people some jobs are stepping stool jobs. That's fine. I want to see people get ahead. And I was telling him he was talking about going into marketing. He just graduated this past May, and I was telling him is that well marketing. Companies with most people working from home, especially until at least June of next year. Uh, are you really gonna hire somebody to work 100% remotely in a skilled job who's never worked in that position before? So that could be somebody who's coming right out of college or somebody who's looking for a career change. And it's like with the remote working, how can you really do staff development and monitoring remotely? And when I think of the way you would have to monitor a remote worker, um, how likely are you to trust someone that's never done it before, right? So right now it kind of leans towards individuals with experience. That also includes people who get degrees or certifications and things where it's nice to have but not required. So I encountered someone, the person was telling me how they recently got a certificates for project management in Six Sigma. They never done it. How could I trust you to do my $500,000 construct and you're literally not in the office and I can't monitor it and it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of hard to train remotely. So I always tell people, and I don't want it to come off as condescending, and it's easier for someone who's engraved in a career. Sometimes you just got to endure.
Yeah.
right? You just have
Mhm.
to endure. Then I think about some of the more entry level jobs. Let me even not even get to entry level, the gig level jobs. It's tough right here. Uber and what's that Instacart have waiting lists right now. Like, when
Mhm.
have we ever had a time where you just couldn't get the gig job? Um,
Yeah.
like it's hard out here. Places that used to work hard to get anyone can be more select. When I think about the most entry level, like Walmart, McDonald's, even UPS or FedEx, they could be more selective. More people are applying. It's definitely wrecked the way we interview. So I always say interviewing over the phone or through a computer is harder than interviewing in person because there's a level of focus and attention to detail that you must maintain, as well as when you're looking at somebody through a screen, that the non-verbal communications, just all the whole setting behind them, it's harder. So when I think about some of the people I work with, specifically individuals with developmental disabilities, it's hard to hold their attention in person and keep them focused. It's almost impossible to do it through a screen,
Yeah.
especially with someone they've never met before. So it the way we interview now over the computer and sending in these videos is way tougher
Mhm.
for someone with a disability or who don't have as polished communication skills than someone who has polished communication skills, even though it's not even necessary for the job, right? uh, the video in. Like when we think about what people have at home, even the technological capabilities disfavors people because of the digital divide. Like I look at someone with a tablet or a netbook versus somebody with a notebook or a desktop, and you definitely have more capabilities that way. But in a lot of communities where it's hard to make ends meet, they're more likely to buy a tablet, a netbook, or use their phone
Mhm.
versus a notebook or a desktop. Can you really work from home off of a tablet?
Yeah.
So it's impacted people a lot, right? And this literally came out of nowhere. I just think we have to, as a community, now back to a community, as a community person, we definitely just gotta endure, right? I've even I've been giving more. I've given probably more this year than I did in the 2 or 3 years combined, and I'm talking
Mhm.
about from a personal level. And not only do I ask for support for my initiatives, I support other people's initiatives. I think there's other great organizations who do things. And I just know that one, you can't service everyone, and two, you don't do everything the best, right? So there's other organizations like I send checks and money and resources to other organizations that I just
Mhm.
think in certain communities they just don't be able to do a better job than me. I'm on some like I've sent to help pay with utility bills. I've sent to help with childcare. Those are not things that I do, right? But I know it's important. So yeah, I could go on and on about what I've seen and how it's
Yeah.
affected people. But realistically, I think COVID overall, how it impacted, it's definitely benefited the more polished, the more technologically proficient and capable people, and it's been unfavorable to those who are not.
Yeah. And that really was, the kind of the next thing I wanted to talk about was more of, the effects of the pandemic as a whole, not just specifically on employment. So, I did want to ask you from your perspective, um, was just, kind of, what you have seen as it relates to, what communities you feel have been the most impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, and maybe, are the most vulnerable right now.
All right, so I couldn't give a specific community based upon name or zip code because I'm just not on the ground there. I just haven't really just like seen it. But
Mm-hmm.
I will say that the places that have it the worst in terms of catching it is going to be the more congested areas. regardless if they get tested or not. So like you could be asymptomatic. If you're healthier, you're probably going to be asymptomatic than someone who's unhealthy, uh, because your body going to easily fight it off. Uh, in terms of a service standpoint, I think that community agencies in areas where people have less, I think I've seen a lot of resiliency to stop the hysteria or the pandemonium that could come with something like this. It's been, I think people, the overall citizens has been more helpful. They reach out a lot more. They're more willing to accept help. So I'll give you an example, and I always say you never
Mhm.
know someone's situation. Um, this past weekend at the holiday celebration, there was a family, and you could see the car they got out and how they dressed. They looked like, more affluent,
Mhm.
especially with their command of the English language. There's a lot of things, right? So someone was telling me, like, dang, they don't look like they should be here. And it's just like ordinarily perhaps. But maybe they had that car prior to March of this
Yeah.
year. And after that, you can't take the car back. When you take it off, unless you're gonna trade it in for way, way less, you can't take it back. You still
Yeah.
gotta pay it, right? Um, they're probably in the same school as they was prior to March, which could have March, right? Both of the people in that household, it was it appeared to be, I should say, because at my events, I typically don't ask for a lot of information. I ask for birth certificates.
Mhm.
Don't matter. Um, but you never know what happened to somebody. Like somebody could be literally be doing good right now and literally just out of work and don't know what they're gonna do
Yeah.
in a week. So when I think of it, was a lot of people who didn't think they would be out of work or be out of work this long. And there's a lot of people who thought they was in the so-called permanent jobs or secure jobs that they thought was secure. And I've told people jobs ain't permanent. Um, your profession is permanent. So like if a hospital can close, but that doctor just gonna go to another one. So
Mhm.
the ability to get the job is based off that skill of being a doctor, the credentials, the knowledge, what you can do. Where that doctor works at might change over the course of a career. Um, we just got to look at who we help. And like I said, overall, I think a lot of organizations have taken away some of those stipulations where you used to have to show these birth certificates,
Mhm.
an ID, a social security card, might have said you had to speak English, show some low income status, or show you your food stamps. A lot of places have stopped doing that, which I think is great,
Yeah.
so we could better service the people out here. Like I said, with dignity, it's probably a humbling experience to have been someone making a good penny, taking care of your family. And now, I think one thing, and I know I put a lot of thought into this stuff. I haven't seen an increase in suicides, which we find underrated. So when I think back to the housing market crash, or
Mhm.
which I was alive and knowledgeable of, and the depression which I worry about during those times when things go bad, suicide usually go up dramatically, right? Because
Mhm.
especially as men, I've heard a lot of men say that we're loved to the extent that we can provide, right? Like that affects our relationship if we can't provide the same amount anymore. There's definitely been a lot of resources out here to help people to still be able to provide, to still stay in their house with the moratorium on evictions,
Mhm.
with the utility companies not coming out. So, when I look at what the utility companies did, I know there's a moratorium in Illinois and Chicago on evictions. I think that one thing we don't realize that helped with is suicides, which like I said,
Yeah.
people get in a rut, they lose their job and they go off the air. And then like I said, a lot of people been pulling together. It wasn't expected. You don't know what's
Mhm.
going to go on. So like I said, sometimes you don't even know what's going to happen 2 days from now. But we just got to be resilient and flexible.
And so I am curious, how you um remain resilient and flexible. And even more specifically, how do you stay flexible as the needs of the individuals you're servicing continue to change?
So I think I'm able to explain flexible as an individual of what I do because I do if I want to do it, I'm gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
From an organizational standpoint, like the kindness campaign, it's not a big multi 20, 30, 40, $50 million organization with a heavy hitter board. And that's no shade at my board. They do a great job. They're the reason that we've been able to expand our capacity. So I can adapt and change stuff way quicker than maybe a very big, structurally complex organization can. Um, I'm still very involved in the service. I could think back years when I used to work in direct service, and if somebody was saying you're gonna be a VP or CEO somewhere at one of the organizations one day, and I always told them, like, I prefer to work with the people. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
I'll ever get away from that point no time soon. And even with the collaborative leadership of the kindness campaign, because I like to refer to myself as the moral support leader, even though my face is associated the most with it. And I do a lot of the paperwork, like for in terms of reporting requirements and everything, banking. Like it's a whole arm out there. Like I have a great support network, people who do a lot to keep the organization going, people who do things that does things better than me, and I just happen to have a bigger platform and people see it kind of more with me and associate it with me. But like I tell those people, I like to call them outstanding partners and outstanding members, is that it's this is our organization. I don't like to call it just mine, and I'm just the moral support lead who makes sure the IRS, the Secretary of State, and all those agencies uh, get the stuff that they want. That's one. But in terms of from an impact, like I said, I reach out, I ask a lot of other people. I lead initiatives in ways I personally wouldn't have done it myself. But like I said, I know I don't know everything. I don't necessarily always go, well, we're going to do it this way because that's what I want to do. I kind of listen, let other people take the lead when it's necessary.
So the last thing that I wanted to talk to you about was, um, I guess the importance of um, just the importance of, coming together as a community. So, you know, and I want to bring that up because I believe that, oftentimes we are our greatest advocate. No one can really express your needs better than you can for yourself.
Hmm.
Um, so I wanted to ask you, because I'm sure that like you've mentioned your partnerships already, you're not doing all of this by yourself. You're not a one-man show. So I'm interested in hearing your perspective on what people could or should be doing to kind of ensure that their community has access to the resources that they need, during this time or even outside of the COVID-19 pandemic. What are some ways that we can all be a little bit more conscious of what's going on around us and how we can help?
Okay, you could always be the resource. So I always tell people, like, I think I got a few things that I always think that I try to stay up. Like, especially, people could be critical of other. I remember a young me used to be like, well, why this organization don't do this, or why these people don't do that? And then all I was hearing was me talking about what somebody else ain't doing that I wasn't doing. So if you want somebody, like I said, people help people who help in themselves. If you want more resources, start by literally doing it yourself. Um, there's no little, right? Even if you help one person, I promise you this,
Mm-hmm.
more people will see it and people will duplicate it, right? I tell people, like somebody was like, why do people post and talk about when they're doing service? And I always say, well, I think you got to consider how you post. I don't hand somebody some food or some gifts and say, smile for the camera. But I do it so I can inspire others. I'm doing it because I want the people that I influence the most to do it also, right? And I've had friends and family. I'm like, you don't need an organization to do it. Let's not wait for the government to do it. If you see a family that needs some food because you see them sleeping on the bench outside and you think they need
Mm-hmm.
some housing or some food, to take them some food. If you can, put them in a hotel. Call up 311 for them and find out if there's any shelters that's available right there.
Mm-hmm.
You do it. Like, let's start it by doing it yourself. And when you start doing stuff, the government is more likely to come in. So, like, I think even with the kindness campaign, a lot of people say, you're getting this, you're getting that. How can I get it too? And I tell them, if you just started yesterday, you probably not going to get what I get tomorrow. Like, a lot of people look at how big it's become since maybe 2016 or 2017,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't realize that I started in 2009. And
Yeah.
I started with passing out information on my own and doing stuff with friends and family members. And over time, it just grew. So, if you want to be that change in your communities, do it. You do it. If you think other people should do it, why don't you show them how to do it? You lead by example by doing it first. So I always emphasize to people, you don't have to wait on me. You don't have to wait on the organization. Do it. And like for the most part, we have the capability to do some of the things that we want to be done, especially from giving somebody something to eat to
Mm-hmm.
making the community look cleaner, safer. Or if you think it's not enough in your community for the kids to do, why don't you start a sports team? Why don't you lead an activity? That's typically how all big organizations, a great idea starts with one person doing it on their own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
And it don't
absolutely true.
necessarily it don't necessarily have to be big, a big $1 million organization or multi-city initiative. You could just do it directly in your community for 6 months, a year, 2 or 3. Don't I think we're past the point of measuring success in terms of how much money we get paid or the
Mm-hmm.
organization is worth or if we got an actual big building. Because like I said before last month, even I've been doing this a decade, I didn't have no office or building before last month and it ain't even up and running yet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessary. So just looking at ways we can make the impact, which is you. Just do it. I always tell people, just do it yourself.
Yeah.
And then people go join.
Yeah, and that's great advice. I love how you said that. Just be the resource. Um, so if people are interested, I'm just, we're almost out of time. So I want to round this out with a little, um, I guess, a resource for people who might be interested, might be inspired by our conversation that we had today, and interested in getting involved with you. So I do want to allow you to share with us, just for those who are interested in um, supporting their community by volunteering or by donating to your efforts through the kindness campaign. How are they able to do that? How can they connect with you and figure out what you have going on and what your needs are right now?
So right now, the best place to look is at Facebook, the Kindness Campaign. The new updated, what I call reimagined website to match what we're doing will probably be up and running in January. So right now, if they go to Facebook, I'm very responsible with that. If they just wanted to come out and support, if they wanted to donate, or if they wanted some ideas on what I can do in my community. I've even went so far. So people, it's like, dang, I want to do this with my community. We need to give out groceries, right? I tell them
Mhm.
they can come with me to get some groceries, and I'll let them bring a truck, and I'll fill you up and you could do it in your community. Like, that's when people say, hey, can you do this in my community? Because, I'm very big on, I can't save the world until I save my country, until I save my state, until I save my city, until I save my community, until I save my block. So I'm very
Mhm.
unlikely to go outside my neighborhood and lead something. I'll support something outside my neighborhood, but I'm reluctant to lead outside my neighborhood. But I will share with you so you can lead it in your neighborhood. I've had people who wanted to do clean community neighborhood beautification. Look, I got trash pick, I got saws, I got this, I got that. I'll let you use it, and you can lead it in your
Mhm.
um, community, and I might even show up and participate as well. So I want you to empower it, you to lead it, you to own this. This is all you. This is your community. You be the community leader in your community. No, I always tell people this. No one's going to come and build and uplift for your community for you to keep it for yourself. They'll help you and you can keep it for
Right.
yourself, but they're not going to do it for you without you
Yeah.
having no skin in the game.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right about that. Um, and I really do love the way that you kind of approach all of this. I think that you have, kind of really great disposition and really great ideas. And I, am most impressed by, how adamant you are about empowering people to do it themselves. I think that's
Mhm.
kind of just a really important takeaway from this whole conversation that we've had. And we talk about that a lot too. We're all in this together. We're stronger when we're together. Um, and and like you said, collaboration. You can use what I have if you need it, and that's what it's here for.
Mhm.
But you got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Um,
You
so
own this. This is all you.
exactly, yeah, yeah, and I think that's just like I said, really empowering. A really empowering message and takeaway from this. Um, And that really is the extent of the questions that I have for you today. Um, if there's anything else you'd like to share, you're welcome to, but I do want to be respectful of your time.
I
So I
think
think
you covered everything. I hope that what the most that someone can get from this is that they can do it themselves. I always say you will never have enough good leaders. That's not a bad thing. Do it yourself. No
Mhm.
impact or difference is too little.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I do really appreciate it, and I'm, very excited to have connected with you. Hopefully, we can stay sharing resources and keep in touch.
All right. Thanks for having me. You enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Thank you, Christopher.
All right.
Okay, thank you so much, Christopher Watts. I think that I'm very happy with a lot that he shared. Like I just had mentioned to him, like I think it's just a very empowering thought to know that we can be the resource. I can't stop thinking about him saying that. If you see a need or an organization, you know, a gap that needs to be filled, we can do that. You don't have to wait for someone else to do it. And I think that that is something that is really important right now, especially um, when so many are uh, struggling in ways that they have not before, are fearful in ways that they have not been fearful before. I think it's really empowering to know that um, the help that we need, is right here with us. So I hope that everyone who joined us today found the conversation to be impactful. I know I definitely did. I always leave Hope Talks feeling very inspired. So hopefully you all can agree with that, feel that same feeling that I do. Um, if you enjoyed this, make sure you have liked our Facebook page, subscribe to the notification so you'll receive updates of when we're going live. Um, Please, if you have any questions or comments, let us know. I will be reviewing all these comments immediately after I log out of here. If there's a topic you would like for us to discuss, let me know. I can try and find a guest, special guest. If you would like to learn more about Southside Center of Hope, please visit our website, www.sscoh.org or www.southsidecenterofhope.org. Either one works, will take you to the same page. And that's really all for today. So I will sign off and I will see you all next month for our January Hope Talk. Thank you.